Okay, so we're talking about creating sticky processes, or I guess sticky customers via great processes. The first one we talked about, make it obvious to the oblivious. And when we talked about the magic moment principle, you've got 7 days to create that moment. The third step, you say they want it fast. What are we talking about? What do they want fast?
Well, do you remember when we used to fly on airplanes all the time? It's one of those things where everybody that's flown had the experience when they had to call in because something changed, or they had to move something, or they were trying to get in touch with somebody. And you get that because Delta or American Express, or American Airlines, all of them, they all love us so much that they tell us that on their automated voice thing, tells us how much they love us. You're such an honored customer that you get to talk to the robot. And when we all have a problem, and especially when we're pissed off at the Comcast, like you said earlier, whatever, we call in, we get the thing. And what everybody does is we press 0, or we start screaming representative, or what, then you have to slow it down, representative, to get them to understand. So we all have had that experience to where when a person feels pain, this is a macro principle though. When a person feels pain, they want people. When you feel pain, you want people. And when do you want them? I want them right now, and I want them fast. From the time you stub your toe as a kid, you want your mama, right? I mean, it's just the way that it works. And so what we have seen in business is that businesses have created such a hard time to get in touch with people, and the response times are so lag that it pisses people off, and that people then become pissed at your brand, and then they get on the show and say, well, Comcast, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well, they did that because they did it. And so what I always say is solve your customers' problems before they become your problem. So solve their problems before. And so the best way to do that is speed. The best way to do that is speed, is to let them know that you got it. You don't even have to solve it. Just answer. The biggest example, I called Nike. I had these shoes. They picked up. I was shocked. I was literally shocked. I called Nike and it was like, hello, this is Nike represent, like straight away. And I was like, there's no way this is happening. It shocked me. And so they immediately, it took 90 days for me to get the problem solved, but I wasn't mad about Nike because they answered the phone. So my question for you as a business owner listening to this is, if you went through, which I think every business owner should go buy their own product today, go buy it. Just go buy your product, buy your technology, ship yourself the product off the Shopify store, go literally put your computer in incognito mode and go through the entire process. Not only that, fake sales call in and fake out somebody and buy, or have your assistant do it and listen in and go through the process of buying. But then on the backside, where do you go for help? What do you do? And we do not make it clear for people, where do you get somebody fast? And we see this as one of the number one reasons that customers churn. It's not that they necessarily don't like the product or that they hate it. It's if that somebody would talk to them really quickly, they would stay. That's why people hire us, is like people say, Casey, what's your secret sauce? I'm like, speed and empathy. We're faster to the person than anybody else. And I used to do this even in hospital visits when I worked at a church. I would get there at 5 a.m. and this is actually terrible. And I'm sorry if I did this visiting hospital. My strategy was, the earlier if you got there before them and then they walked in, you didn't have to stay a long time. So the longer you went, the later in the day you went, the longer you had to stay. So I would be there first thing, but there's something about being there first. There's something about being there quick, and that solves the customer's problem. And I just think a lot of businesses should pressure test the speed on the back end of their businesses.
How quick is quick? I mean, today I think we're in such an on-demand, the expectation for fast has done nothing but increase.
Totally.
On response time. I know a lot of companies, they try to have little chat features on the website that pop up right then. But then as a customer, you kind of go, I don't know, do you even really work for that company? Are you really going to take care of me? Are you just a robot? Everybody's trying to get into AI and scale this stuff and do it where it's automated. I think there's a lot of, there's resentment and stigma and a little bit of guardedness in the consumer base about nifty ways that businesses are trying to get fast, but they're shortcutting the key part you're talking about, which is empathy that only can come from a real human. So how do we get lots of empathy really fast, and how fast is fast? What are we talking about?
Yeah. And that's why I would say, there's a couple of different ways. Obviously, there's technology. There's two things. There's technology and people, right? What's the technology system that you use to get information from your customers fast? Like, what is that? And there's a million different technology you use. But then the people side is that they've got to know that this is actually a real person named Jamie and that Jamie actually has access to their files and can actually solve their problem. I don't think they actually care if it's outsourced or if it's an AI thing. I think all the end user consumer cares about is, did I get my pain resolved? So there's a million ways to solve it, but that's what I would say. Empathy is the number one way we get people to stay in subscriptions. And so if you have a subscription business, the number one way we get people to stay, we have like what we call 3 stay bonuses. And one of the stay bonuses is just people listening, like they're going to get out of the subscription, whatever the subscription is. We listen to them and we say, and all we do is listen to them. Tell us everything you don't like about this. They'll list everything they don't like about it. And then we say, hey, listen, we hear that because of that. I know you were going to leave, but we'll give you 50% off if you for the year, and here's a one-time purchase, and you can just purchase it and you can have it for the rest of the year. And you would not believe, just because we listened to them, and then they paid more. Just because we listened to their story. And then we put an offer in front of them, but it's an empathetic offer. Here's 50%, pay up front, you get the whole year. And how many people stay in the subscription? It's amazing.
How do you do that with, I'm not going to say integrity because that's too big of a word, but if you're thinking about new customers and they're going to pay $100 a month, but then if they knew that they were in for 3 months and they were going to leave if you would knock it down to $50 a month, it almost feels disingenuous to your new customers that you're charging $100 a month. So is it kind of under the radar? Is it something you pull out just because they're leaving and now you go, oh, this is really what you're worth to us because you're about to leave?
Yeah, and it's not to us. We represent the brands. And so we, on a spectrum, we go through, when somebody comes on, we say, hey, listen, if somebody's going to leave, how do you want us to get them to stay? So I don't, it's up to our end user of what pitch or offer we want them to make. And so whether they feel it's ingenuine or not ingenuine, that's up to them. We don't feel like it is. We feel like it's an opportunity. If the person's going to stay and keep the product, they can do that. And so that's how I see that.